Hello, broadcast community. It is MJ Calloway here with another episode of Bounce Up, bringing you insights and tips to help you create a bounce up life. And today we have our fabulous rock star co-host with us,
Jim Kunkel. Welcome, MJ and Stacey. Hello.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have Stacey with us. Stacey is a certified health coach. So she's going to be offering us a lot of insights on how we can get the most out of our energy this holiday season. So Stacey, not only does December bring all of the year-end projects, so it brings in the budgets and it brings year-end products and thinking about next year, the 2022 plans, it also brings all the responsibilities and commitments that our personal lives have. Thinking about all of that alone not only can create stress and tension, but I think about all the brain power it takes. Now, what is one habit or possibly routine that we implement without even thinking about it that just really zaps our energy?
Such a great question. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me today. It's great to see you, MJ. You too, Jim. And starting off with that question is amazing because I think what happens during the holiday season, as you mentioned, not only do we have all of these year-end things to accomplish, we're also given another full-time job of planning for the holidays, right? It can sometimes feel like that. So we're buying gifts, wrapping presents, planning parties, planning menus, going to parties, all of that. And it does create a lot of extra time on our calendar. So I would say that what happens with people is we're not very present, right? Here we are in the midst of, a holiday season where we're thinking about, hopefully we're thinking a little bit about like gratitude and spending time with family and friends and, enjoying each other. But I think there's a real lack of presence because of all that needs to get done. So trying to create small pockets of time where you can just slow down and really take in what's happening, it can change everything. Because I don't know about you, I'm a list maker. And I just want to be checking things off. Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Checking things off my list and accomplishing things. And we're just, I think, in a state of, whether it's, now, I don't remember it being so busy 25 years ago. I think with social media, with, all of the distractions, it's just very easy to not be present.
So when you're talking about that to-do list, I'm looking at this to-do list here, and there isn't one space here, one line here that says create a small pocket of time to do something. So when you're creating a small pocket of time, so could you share with Jim and I, are you talking 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Like what is a small pocket?
I think it's going to differ for everyone.
Okay.
You need to really, everyone just needs to identify what that looks like for them, because I'm at a stage in my life now where it's just me. My kids are 21 and 24. They're out on their own. So today looks very different than it did 5 years ago. 5 years ago, the pockets of time, I couldn't create an hour. Say, I was juggling schedules, driving the kids all over, preparing meals, all of that. Today, it looks a little different. So I can take an hour and go for a walk. So it's really kind of getting in touch with individually, how much time do you have? What's realistic? Because we want to try and set ourselves up for success. So anytime we're trying to create a goal, a mini goal, we want to set ourselves up for success. So if you can only grab 5 minutes, grab 5 minutes.
It can be tough it can be tough these days sometimes to grab 5 minutes. And now that we're here at the end of the year and the holiday season, it's even time is a precious thing right now.
Absolutely.
So with it, does it make sense to, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, to add it on to an end of a task?
That's a great idea, actually. I recently was thinking, we schedule our Zoom calls, right? We're all accustomed now to having, Zoom
Yes.
call after Zoom call, and our appointments run 60 minutes. I'm starting a trend, hopefully, and maybe you can join me, to make meetings 55 minutes or 25 minutes to give a little buffer in between meeting, because we all need an opportunity to grab a glass of water or use the restroom in between these back-to-back meetings. So yeah, shortening a meeting, maybe looking at your calendar. One of the things that I'm big on is looking at, and I might be jumping a little bit ahead here, but look at the holiday season and say, okay, how do I want to feel at the end of the holiday season? What is that going to look like for me? And if you're identifying how you want to feel, so, I would love to feel relaxed, re-energized, renewed on some level, all of those things. But if I've got a calendar packed full of parties, commitments, I'm up till 2 a.m. wrapping presents, things like that, I'm probably not going to feel those things. So then you can look and say, okay, well, what can I do to maybe pull some things off my calendar? And it might be saying no to a couple of parties. It might be really creating that space on a Friday night instead of, going to a happy hour or something, going home and taking a bath. Just something that's really going to contribute to that overall goal.
Oh, I love that. One of the things that I do at the end of the day, especially if I'm sitting in my desk chair for most of the day, is I started incorporating this. At the end of the day, whenever I shut down, I go downstairs in the kitchen and I make a cup of tea. And then I sit and I read, because I always try to have a business book that I am reading. And I read for 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, to drink that cup of tea. So it's that transition, but it also, for me, it makes me feel good. It's so simple, but yet makes me feel good. And I'm still accomplishing something, because that type A, mindset where you always need to be accomplishing something. So I am getting in my business reading, but yet I'm also nurturing my body, if that makes sense.
And your mind.
And my mind.
That's a beautiful ritual. And that's such a great example of a self-care act that has become now a habit for you. You're drinking something that's nourishing your body, you're nourishing your mind with the reading. And I know, as also type A, get things done, you're combining two things at one time. So you're double, what can we call it? You're just doubling what you're getting done in a sense, but there's an overall self-care aspect to that, which we're lacking today in how we do things. And I say we, just the collective we. I definitely think there's more focus now on self-care, on taking time in your day to just, enjoy the beautiful blue sky outside. I mean, it might sound a little corny, but it does something to our brain when we can slow down and like you said, have a cup of tea and read something that is going to contribute to, in your case, your professional development.
Yeah, like a buy one, get one free moment.
Yes. Love that.
Jim, is there a ritual that you do to give or maybe your family does, to give a little bit of self-care?
Well, for me, you do tea, I do coffee, decaffeinated coffee in the evening, where I'll take time. And the dog joins me too, because she'll go out and go outside and take care of things, and then come in and she'll have a biscuit. I'll sit down, and I typically will eat some type of a a decent snack item and just kind of relax a little bit. For me, a lot of times, MJ, you know my work ethic. I am up at
Yes.
sometimes 1, 2 in the morning, and I might be
Yeah.
sleeping, and a thought comes in my head, and I pop up and fire on the computer and do something. It can be very difficult for me to take time, and I have to kind of force myself. So for Stacey, I guess the question I would have is, what can I do to force myself to take these breaks?
Just being mindful. I think starting with asking the question, just by nature of asking the question, I think you're becoming conscious, that, oh, this might benefit me in some way. So putting it on your calendar, maybe even,
Yeah.
I mean, you could put a Post-it note, somewhere that says, take a break, set an alarm, all of those kinds of things. But that just taking that first step, I was talking about this recently in health coaching. People will say, well, I'm trying to get healthy. And just by nature of saying, I want to get healthy, or you're doing it. You're not even trying, you're actually doing it, because that's the first step, becoming aware and then creating the habit. I love what you said, Jim, about, taking time to have a coffee and have your dog nearby. I mean, animals are such a wonderful source of love and affection, and they can just make us feel really good. They get those endorphins going, I think, just having them close by.
Yeah, when I go in for an annual physical, my underlying conditions are very favorable right now, and I hope to keep them that way moving into the future. But my doctor keeps saying, "Hey, we'd like to get you in for a sleep study." I have a little bit of a weight challenge that I've been addressing. She said, "We want to get you in for a sleep study." I said, "No, you don't want me for a sleep study because it's not going to work out well for them and for me because of the way I am. I'm very erratic. Now, I have energy all day long. Just as sometimes I think some people need a lot of sleep, and there are people that can basically function on less amounts of sleep. Ultimately, I know it's not good for a person, but I think what you recommended on having, I'm a calendar person and a reminders. So I think I need to start doing that, is to put that as a reminder with an alarm, or put it in my calendar and just schedule some me time.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And in talking about the sleep and all of that, so with health, it's not just siloed, right? It's not just what you eat. It's not just what form of movement and exercise you do. It's a combination of all of those things plus stress. So when I talk about being present and taking those mindful breaks where you're just breathing, right? It's to help your body relax, your mind and your body relax for a little bit. And that's part of really maintaining our health as well. Instead of being go, go, go all the time, it's just not good for our overall health. So those little pockets of time can really help.
Good.
And I love that, pockets of time, because it doesn't sound overwhelming. Pockets of time, just it seems doable.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about that in my book that came out yesterday, actually, Mind Body Kitchen. It is addressing your health doesn't have to be overwhelming. I think people plan so for the new year, there are going to be people out there like, okay, January 1, I'm doing it. I'm going to do this diet, which, without going too far down the rabbit hole, I mean, diets don't work. Because what do you eat when the diet's over? So really it's about learning to make sustainable changes, and just a little bit at a time helps. So any small thing that you can do, it's beneficial. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It may take time. It does take. We all know that it takes time to develop habits, and and sometimes we have a habit and then we break it. But it doesn't mean that all the work we did leading up to that moment that we broke the habit is ruined. That's such a fallacy. We've still done the work. We've still acquired knowledge. So every little bit helps.
And it's that you mentioned knowledge, it's that educating ourselves. When I was going through pretty intense treatment during the first cancer diagnosis, I lost my sense of taste and my sense of smell. And one of the things that I was fatigued, but I also wasn't eating because I just couldn't at the time. And I was seeing a nutritionist, and one of the things she said was, think about if you can only put one thing in your mouth, if there's only one thing you can take in, you want it to give you fuel. Think of
Yes.
it as giving you energy, not think about it as what it tastes like or this is what you feel like eating, but think about if there's only one thing I can eat, what is going to give me the most energy? How does food play
Mhm.
into our mental capacity?
That's such a good question. So we've become a dessert for breakfast society, donuts, sugary, and now like I cookies, right? They're all over the place. And who doesn't love a good cookie? But at the same time, there's going to be inevitably, when you eat sugar, there's a crash. You go up, you come down. It's just part of how it goes. So getting some nutritious foods into your body early in the day, you set yourself up for success. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I think this is why avocado toast is so popular, actually.
Love
Yeah, it's
it.
good. It is good.
Avocados are amazing, right? They're a gift. And so getting the greens in early in the day, it can really help because a lot of people will say, okay, I had breakfast, now I want a morning snack. Well, maybe looking at what the breakfast choice is, having like an egg, some avocado, something that's some healthy fats that are going to get you, and protein to get you to lunch. So I encourage people, try that out, because you may find that mid-morning you're not craving a snack, especially a sugary snack. So might be easier to say no.
Well, that does make sense to go ahead and front load your day with everything that you can that is good for you, that can give you that energy. So that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah,
And
something I did to address my weight issue, and I have been losing weight, and I need to lose a lot more. So I started doing the log where every time if I did a snack, like if I got a handful of pretzels or I went and I ate a cookie or something like that, I wrote it down and then would go back and look at that and say, "Oh my goodness, look at the amount of sugar I'm taking in. Look at all the bad stuff I'm taking. All the bad stuff." And I started to really kind of change how I was eating and then snacking. For the most part, my snacking's been eliminated because of just keeping a diary and going back and looking at it. It created that catalyst for me to say I've got to change, and one of the areas I need to change. And it's great when you go back to your doctor's office in a 6-month checkup and they're like, you lost 10 pounds or you lost, even if it's 5 pounds, it's a victory.
yay,
And
That's
so,
yes.
hopefully,
absolutely.
we would get now. For myself, I've always been a sizable boy, and it's difficult. I don't think I'm going to ever be able to get down to the 170 or 180 that I'm supposed to be at. But if I got down to 200 pounds or 190-ish, that would be great, I think.
That's a victory.
And I'd probably come off some of the
Absolutely.
medications I have. I'm on some basic maintenance stuff, but
Mhm.
the one that always makes me nervous is with the pre-diabetic, when you start looking at your blood work and then you start to see numbers creeping up. And last time I had a check, my numbers in a very good range right now. So knock on wood, I can keep everything that way.
That's
Yes.
great. And again, it's the awareness, and you
Yeah.
had the awareness, and then you took the steps to actually keep track of what you were eating, and then look at it, and then making the tweaks. It's those steps. They're small steps, but you wind up with some pretty big results.
Yeah. Now the challenge for me is going to be my wife is getting ready to make gingerbread cookies,
Ugh.
and she makes them, and then she puts them in hiding. And as a kid, I was always great at finding where my mother hid our Christmas presents, but I can never find my wife's cookies. So I believe she takes them off site.
They're in the trunk of the car.
Well, probably my in-laws live just down the street from me. I'm sure if I ransacked their house, I'd find those gingerbread cookies. So, but
Oh, I
they're
love that.
they're awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, when you have those type of holiday cookies, you just can't eat one. All the holiday cookies are that good.
So does your wife sort of portion them out? Does she give you like one cookie, and is that how does that work?
It does kind of work that way. So what'll happen is she will break them out a little at a time. And if she notices that they're going a little too fast, that maybe instead of me doing the one cookie, I'm doing the two cookies. I'm cheating.
Oh, I love that. I'm that way with potato chips. I never, ever, ever keep potato chips in my house because I cannot eat one. So, and I don't keep them in here for that reason. So Stacey, one of the things that caught my attention, now we've known each other for probably a good 10, 12 years, maybe longer than, actually, I think probably longer than that.
Quite possibly.
Because I was writing my first book that was published by Warner Books whenever we first met, The Frantic Woman's Guide to Life.
Yes.
So, yes.
And now you have what, 9 books or 11?
11, yes,
11.
which is very fun. So one of the things that caught my attention, because I've known you and I've watched you evolved over the years, is you are a certified health coach, which is completely different. You hear a lot about certified career coach and certified life coach, but yours is around health. So could you give us just a little bit about what makes you different, because you are a certified health coach?
So as a certified health coach, so first, let me tell you what I'm not, because I think a lot of times people make assumptions when they're like, oh, you're a certified health coach. So are you a nutritionist? No. Are you a registered dietitian? No. So my certification, I studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition out of New York City. And it was an intensive program. It was a 52-week program. Studying, I probably spent 10 to 15 hours a week for a full year studying. Learned about over 100 different dietary, diets that are on the market. But as a coach, what we're trained to do is we're trained to ask questions, really. So if I work, or when I work with someone, I take a health history. So I have some background on them, and it's pretty extensive. It's actually, and I have a little gripe with traditional medicine, because I feel like my health history, which I acquired from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, is almost more thorough than what a doctor focuses on, traditional medicine. They focus on they don't focus on emotional, what's going on in a person's life. And which to me says so much about health, because if someone comes to me and I don't know that at home they've got 3 little kids, and they've got a husband who's hardly ever home because he's traveling, and she's got a work from home position, just if I don't know all of this, I can't really guide that client very well. So what we're trained to do is look at the whole picture and then ask the questions. I never give advice, really. I'm not telling people what to do. I'm helping them uncover what's going to work for them. And that's where, so I'm empowering, hopefully, empowering individuals to make the best decisions for themselves, and all the while giving them information, giving them guidance, but never saying, okay, here's what I think you should do, and mapping out a plan for them, because that doesn't work. They're not taking ownership. And it's really important, I think, to make solid changes in one's life. We have to be accountable individually. So
and invested.
Yes.
We have to be invested in our own success.
Exactly. So it's very rewarding to watch that light bulb go on when somebody realizes, oh, like I get familiar with my body, and my mind, and I can start making these decisions, based on information that I've gathered. So it's incredibly rewarding to do this work.
It sounds it. So
Mhm.
your book came out yesterday. And this is December, so it came out yesterday. Can you first, do you have a copy with you that you can hold up?
I do.
Awesome. I did order it, so I'm looking forward to it coming. Actually,
Thank
I'm
you.
buying a couple for Christmas gifts too. I thought that would be a great Christmas gift to give. So could
Mhm.
you give us just a nugget about what will somebody at the end of reading your book, going through your book, what is something that will be their takeaway?
I do feel like the people will be empowered to, in a way that in a way that they can move forward with creating a healthier lifestyle. So I started with mind. It's Mind Body Kitchen, and I started with the mindset because in order to create long-lasting, sustainable change, we need to oftentimes change our thinking a little bit, adjust our thinking. So, I hear a lot of women in particular say, oh, I can't lose weight. Well, let's change that up a little bit. Let's, create like a positive affirmation. You may not believe it in the moment, but let's change what's going on up here a little bit. But I guide people, just as a coach, I guide people through the process of basic nutritional information, very basic, that will allow people to make change right away. So, for example, processed food, which is packaged food. So it's all the foods that have the label, the nutritional information, the ingredients. Check the ingredients. So if you are choosing a packaged food, make sure that it only has 5 ingredients or less. Know what those ingredients are. So we don't want to be looking up what we're putting into our body. We want to know what we don't want to have to ask Google. And then, of course, there's the whole aspect of the kitchen. So a lot of the book focuses on zoning the kitchen, organizing it in a way that you can create simple, healthy meals. I also dive into meal planning, grocery shopping, what to put in your pantry and your fridge. So I'm hoping the book really empowers people to just take control of their health, their personal health, in a way that they have not been able to this point.
Jim, before I ask my last question, do you have one last question for Stacey?
No, I'm really looking forward to taking a look at the book. And in the book, do you have things like recipes and things that people can focus on regarding foods?
Yeah, so there isn't, it's not a recipe book per se, but in the back of the book, I have a 3-day jumpstart.
Oh, excellent.
And yeah, so it's a way to eliminate sugar and have more energy. So there are some recipes, basic, just clean eating. And it's amazing. I mean, the people, the clients, and just people in my groups who have done the 3-day jumpstart, they're like, wow, I just started to feel so much better just after 3 days. So, yeah.
Yeah, that would be very valuable. And it's available on which outlets can they get the book?
Amazon, of course, Barnes and Noble. I think it's on Target. I don't know if it's in Target, but it's on the Target website, and Indie Books, which is another site. But of course, Amazon. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. So my last question, and Jim, that was a great one to ask. I love the idea of the 3-day jumpstart.
Yeah, that's
So
important.
And Jim has just almost finished with a kitchen remodel. So this would be right up your alley, Jim.
Yeah, and my wife is she's a student of Food Network and an amazing cook, and so that your book might be something that actually it's going to benefit me with that jump start, and I think I'm going to look into getting it myself as well.
Great! So exciting about the new kitchen.
Yeah, we're just waiting right now for the countertop. The way the supply challenges have been, right now, knock on wood, we'll have it the week prior to Christmas. We did Thanksgiving with a plywood countertop, and we had the whole family over, but it worked out really well. So if we don't get it, we'll be okay. But if we get it, it'll be even better.
Yes.
Definitely. Okay, so Stacey, I have one last question.
Mhm.
What is one action or one thing that busy professionals can do this month to come out feeling energized after this holiday season rather than feeling depleted and needing a vacation?
Hmm. So I'm going to kind of jump back to what I had mentioned earlier, and we'll
Okay.
kind of bring that forward. Um, think about how you want to feel at the end of December, and then look at your commitments and really be honest with yourself and ask, if I've got all of these commitments, is this going to make me feel energized or like I need a vacation? And it's tough, but maybe start saying no to some things, because when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to something else. So we all need to say yes to ourselves a little bit more.
Yes, make your yes and your no your no.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great way to end the year.
Definitely. So Stacey, can I ask you, how do you want to feel at the end of this month?
Yeah, I want to feel energized. I want to feel ready to head into 2022. 2022. I can't believe we're in 2022 already. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
where the
amazing.
last 20 years has gone, but
Yeah.
um, but I have started asking myself that question as well. And what's interesting is, the book, although it launched yesterday, a lot of this doesn't start until the new year, right? Because that's when everybody starts making their changes. So after today, business-wise, I'm taking it pretty easy for the next few weeks. I mean, I've got some commitments and work to do, but I'm gonna take some time for me. I'm gonna spend some time with family, friends. I've got a couple of dinners planned and a little travel, and I think that I've set myself up to feel energized going into 2022. How about you,
Awesome.
MJ and
So
Jim?
I'll end. How about if Jim, how do you want to feel?
So I've already started working on my professional goals for my career, but what I'm also focused on is going to be my personal goals, and that obviously centers around a lot of being a content creator, broadcasting, and things like that. So there's some things that I'm working in that. The other thing too that for me is reflection and really kind of recalibrating myself and energizing myself for 2022. I have and MJ, we've had this discussion before. I sense a big 2022 for me. I don't know what it's going to look like or how or when it's going to manifest, but I just have some really good, strong vibes, and the positivity's flowing so strong. And I want to make sure I keep that. We came coming out of the pandemic, going into the pandemic. Everything really, a lot of people shut down, and it caused a lot of angst and anxiety for people. For me, it actually gave me an opportunity to reinvent myself. And it was that catalyst. I hate to say it. There was a positive thing from that happening. It was a catalyst for me to change. And I want to continue being change and going through this reinvention I'm going through. But also, too, I want to make sure that I'm energized, focused on the family, focused on friends. And so that is what helps keep me motivated and moving forward. And I'm really looking forward to 2022.
Mm. I should have had you go last because that was an awesome wrap up
Yours is
there.
going to be better.
So one of the things that does energize me is looking at my 2022 from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking forward to, over the next few days in this weekend, I have already set aside time to have my journal, to have my tea, to sit down, and there will be a bottle of wine, and there's some days too, and sit down and really think about, where do I want to be at the end of 2022? Because it's that creativity that really can energize me. From a personal perspective, I want to say at the end of December that I celebrated the month, that I celebrated with family and friends, that I celebrated and I did some of the personal things that I want to do. So that was the other, just thinking about it, the end of 2022, I want to look back, or December, and say, hey, I celebrated this month the way that I wanted to celebrate.
Beautiful.
So,
All
Well,
Right.
I was going to say, let's ask Stacey. Stacey, how can people follow you? You have social media, websites, anything like that?
I do. Thanks for asking. My website is firstandlastname.com, staceycrew.com. On Facebook and LinkedIn, it's at Stacey Crew. On Instagram, Stacey Crew Wellness.
Excellent. And MJ?
Oh, njcallaway.com. You can also find me on all social media platforms. And Jim, how can we find you?
The best way is through LinkedIn, and make sure you check out my live stream on Wednesday called Build Out, Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So appreciate everyone joining us today for this broadcast, and looking forward to working MJ on the next one with you. And Stacey, I look forward to future conversation with you as well on some other topics. Really appreciate you having me on today.
Yes. Jim, thank you for everything you do behind the scenes. Really appreciate it. So go build up productions. Stacey, thanks so much for sharing your insights for us so that we can have a successful, not only personal life, but also, not only professional life, but also personal life. So appreciate your insights and wish both of you a fabulous bounce up weekend.
Thank you.
This is MJ Callaway signing out, but remember to join us every Thursday at noon Eastern Standard Time for Bounce Up broadcast.